Hi, so in this video, I'm going to be giving some quick thoughts on the first three titles in the November 2023 TOK essay question set. I will be releasing more detailed guides for each question, so make sure you subscribe if you want to catch those. Also, I'm currently revamping my website, but if you are interested in tutoring or feedback, feel free to drop me an email at tom@toklifeline.com. All right, let's have a look at the questions, starting with the first, which is, are facts alone enough to prove a claim? Discuss with reference to any two areas of knowledge. Okay, so I think this question perhaps looks a bit easier than it actually is, because how you approach it is going to depend on a couple of things. Firstly, how you define facts, and maybe more importantly, the nature of the claim that you're trying to prove. For simplicity's sake, we can define facts as being something, a statement which is proven to be true, and there's kind of a sense that it's something objective. In other words, it's removed from any particular point of view. Okay. Certain AOKs deal with facts in more of an obvious way than others. So we can see this with mathematics being based on axioms, whereas something like the arts deals a lot more in subjective knowledge. Okay. Um, Getting back to the question, we might intuitively think that having relevant facts is all we need to prove a claim to be true. After all, if you have the facts on your side, who are we to question you, right? But there are other things we need to take into account. A major one being, how are the facts presented? And are certain key details being omitted? Because someone could make an apparently fact based claim, but miss out some other important facts which are relevant. You can imagine, for example, a politician using or quoting the statistics pertaining to a drop in violent crime and using this to prove the notion that they are tough on crime, right? But perhaps they have neglected to address statistics which show an increase in other types of offence. Okay? So it's these other contextual factors which you should also address. Okay, title 2. If the mathematician's patterns, like the painters and the poets, must be beautiful, how might this impact the production of knowledge? Discuss with reference to mathematics and arts. Right, so a couple of things about this title. Firstly, it makes a key assumption that mathematical and artistic knowledge must be beautiful. Also, you have to answer this question clearly with these two AOKs. An important part of this question is this whole notion of beauty. We have the kind of typical aesthetic framing of what it means for something to be beautiful, and this obviously is a key component of the art. But there are also various mathematical concepts which are relevant here as well. Things like symmetry, or if you've heard of the golden ratio. But we can also define beauty in a more general way. So basically, to describe things which have a set of characteristics which make them somehow wonderful or pleasing, perhaps in an intellectual sense. Football is frequently described as the beautiful game. Apologies to anyone watching this who calls it soccer. But back to the question, how could a need for knowledge to be beautiful impact knowledge production in the aforementioned AOKs? Well, talking about the arts, if we're going with kind of, the typical visually pleasant definition of beauty, perhaps the requirement for works of art to fulfill this may restrict a piece's ability to convey certain emotions or ideas, especially if they're of a more disturbing nature. So maybe if they're portraying some kind of natural disaster or armed conflict. With mathematics, on the other hand, the need for mathematical knowledge to be somehow intellectually satisfying might impede the development of that kind of functional knowledge, which is so often applied to the real world, things like engineering and architecture, etc. Okay, question 3. In the acquisition of knowledge, is following experts unquestioningly as dangerous as ignoring them completely? Discuss with reference to the human sciences and one other area of knowledge. Well, I think this is a particularly interesting title because it's not difficult to find examples of experts massively screwing up, to put it bluntly. Prior to the invasion, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year, a lot of military analysts and defense experts were convinced that Russia would be able to take over the country within a couple of weeks. That obviously didn't happen. And the thing is, experts may have specialist qualifications and conducted extensive research into a particular topic, but like all humans, they're fallible and they're not necessarily going to have access to all of the relevant data that they need in making their judgments. But does this mean that we should completely ignore experts? I mean, no, because they typically provide a lot more useful insight into their areas of expertise than the average person is able to. So the key to answering this question is avoiding just kind of saying that ignoring experts is clearly the more dangerous option or vice versa. Okay, look at the negative implications of both. And then when you answer the question in the conclusion, you can highlight the fact that they're both deeply undesirable courses of action, but perhaps on balance, one of them is typically worse. Okay? Right, in the next video, we'll be looking at titles 4, 5, and 6. So make sure you give that a watch if you are interested in any of those titles. Also, I will be putting up a video giving you some tips for how to choose your prescribed title. So be sure to check that out. So yeah, like, subscribe if you found this useful. And thank you very much for watching.